everybody. Sherman Ray for the Living Network. I'd like to talk to you today about a really important subject that I think is going to really resonate with a lot of you. It's about becoming part of the Daniel generation. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the story. Many of you remember in the book of Daniel, Daniel, who was was taken into captivity under King Darius, really showed a lot of promise. As a matter of fact, he showed so much promise that the people that were already there, the satraps and the soothsayers and all that, really didn't like Daniel. They didn't like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. But that's another story. So they said, we know that Daniel goes up every morning and he prays, or 3 times a day, and he prays to his God towards Israel or towards Jerusalem. And so they said, hey, King Darius, why don't you do this? We know that your God is so great, so why don't you put up this edict that says anybody who prays to any other god besides your God, King Darius, that they will be thrown into the lion's den, knowing that Daniel, of course, is not going to dig this. Well, the king says, hey, what a great idea. So he did this edict, and the edict was under what they called the Medes and the Persian edict. And what that meant is that it could not be revoked. So no matter what the king did for 30 days, that law had to be enacted. So Daniel, as wont to do, 3 times a day, he went to pray pray to his God. And when the satraps and all the high officials heard about it, they immediately went to the king and they said, King Daniel. And the king said, I've got to throw you into the lion's den. How many of you would actually do that? Not only how many of you would do that, how many of you would even think to go against what the edicts of the king is or what the age is and go against what the Bible says? Let's continue. Well, as the story goes on, Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, and all of a sudden that lions got lockjaw. They couldn't bite Daniel. They couldn't scratch him. As a matter of fact, the next morning when the king Darius came in to say hello to Daniel to find out what was going on with Daniel, he yelled out, he goes, Daniel, Daniel, has your God saved you? And Daniel says, live forever, O King Darius, for my God has delivered me from the lion's jaw. So here's the deal. We live in a day and age where we're asked to compromise, to look the other way, sometimes to outright deny our God in order to please the modern day society. But God is looking for a Daniel generation, a generation of believers that not only will not look the other way, but a generation of people that will stand up for what the Bible says. And that's what God's looking for. Those are the people that are going to be the wave of evangelists, the wave of leaders, the wave of followers that are going to usher in the second coming of God. This has been Sherman Ray for the Living Network, and we thank you much for being a part of the show.